Welcome back, everyone, to a new episode of Tevora Talks. I'm your host, Cash, joined as always by my co-host and partner in cybercrime, Mr. Matt Mosley. Today we are with Jason Moore from Source Defense, and we are also coming at you from Las Vegas, Nevada, at the Speedway for DEF CON Black Hat Week. It's a crazy week, fun week. Everybody in the cyber realm is here.
Hacker Summer Camp, which is kind of fun. You know what this brings me up to is I was telling my buddy, he says, hey, I'm gonna come to Vegas too. I'm like, when? He's like, this week. I'm like, why are you coming this week?
Right.
He's like, I don't know, should I not come with this week? I'm like, every
just don't use your electronics.
That's it. Turn off Wi-Fi. That's it.
I'm like, every hacker is gonna be here, so up to you. Just don't go on Wi-Fi, right?
Yeah. That's I had that same story on the flight here. I was riding alongside a guy that's a researcher for op-ed research, political research.
Oh, okay.
And he was coming out to pitch some of the local Chamber of Commerce, and I said, hey, dude, just stay off Wi-Fi. He was blown away.
Or use VPN.
Yeah, or use a VPN.
Yeah, no matter what you do.
That's what protect. Practice safe infosex. And always use protection, which is the. I don't know where that one went, but that's the VPN one.
Yeah, I guess you always have to be on VPN. Keep yourself safe, ladies and gentlemen, no matter where you are. I guess that's the moral of the story. But
yeah,
Jason, thanks for sitting with us.
Yeah, no problems. Thanks for having us. This is great.
Yeah, we love Source Defense.
Yeah, Source Defense is right up our alley. It's the defense, and I think the defense. You hear the noise in the back.
Yeah.
All the speed cars racing around. We have all the Lambos.
Think about it today.
Ferraris,
Between all the booths and the booming competition to have the loudest mic in that show, and then here with these things, it's like ears are ringing all day. Yeah.
This is pretty awesome. Though they're racing freaking Lamborghinis and McLarens out here.
There's some guys
out there is off-roading.
Oh, no kidding.
Off-roading, go-karting, you can do everything here.
Woo! I heard that one drive by.
And then the drift car, you see them go around in this police car down here.
Oh,
they were doing drifting. Oh my God,
That's awesome.
That's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah, that's pretty cool.
I did this a couple years ago, and they had us in line, and one of the cars out here is like a Mustang Shelby,
All right.
which is cool. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna lie,
It's okay.
but
Shelby,
I can go
Shelby.
rent that at Hertz.
Right.
And so they had us here, and they're like, you can't pick which car you want, so whatever car you get,
Yeah.
when you get to the front of the line, that's it.
Yeah.
So I just kept moving to the back until I got to the car I wanted.
But there was like loads of Ferraris and Aston Martins, and then there's one Porsche Cayenne like SUV. So if you pick that would be more like taking the kids
Yeah,
to
that's
school.
right.
Yeah,
It's
for
right
sure,
there
on
in front.
Tuesday. Imagine you came all the way here. You're like, let me get the mid-size Porsche. That doesn't make
funny.
any
That
sense.
was
Have you ever driven a Toyota minivan? Dude, they're sick around corners.
I mean, if I could push a Toyota minivan anywhere to its limits, I would maybe do it here just for fun.
I was talking with a CISO one time. I was doing like a IR readiness assessment.
Yeah.
And the guy had a Lotus parked in his garage, right?
Wow.
And he's telling me how cool the car is. And he's like, but you know what car I really love? He's like, my minivan.
Right. Yeah.
Like legit. He's like, I got 4 kids. He's like, you go to a parking lot, the doors slide sideways. You don't have to worry about the kids digging
It's
the door.
simplicity, right?
banging
Just
in,
easy.
right.
Yeah.
I guess,
That's
yeah,
it.
there you go. It's always about defending yourself. So with that, I kind of want to segue. I like doing these little segues. Since we do have you joining us,
Yeah.
Jason, I love doing plugs. So please plug away.
Hey,
Give
yeah.
us a little bit.
Yeah. No
Yeah,
problem.
for those
Give
that
our
don't know,
audience-
tell us about Source Defense.
Well,
Give us
I'll tell you as much as I can in the 2 months I've been here.
Sure.
Right? So I just came in from working with blue teams and in SOC operations, working with the network defense, network detection and response realm.
Awesome.
And so I run global sales for the company. I've been there for 2 months, and when I interviewed with them, they came and said, hey, would you like to talk to this Israeli company? It's growing. We just raised $27 million in our Series B rounds. And really exciting,
nice.
great momentum.
Congrats.
And it's like this, hey, it's client-side security. It's like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
I didn't really know, and I've been in cyber
Yeah.
for a while, but it really means the browser, right? People think about web application firewalls and how they're hardening infrastructure, reducing the attack surface. Well, the reality is the browser is just massively vulnerable, and Source Defense
Right.
solves that problem. Right?
Absolutely, yeah,
And it's really about, again, I came from networking, and it's like encryption, right? Well, it's HTTPS, so it's encrypted in motion, it's encrypted at rest, it's tokenization, multi-factor authentication, all these things, right?
Yeah.
And then, but when you load a web page loads in my browser at home, my kid's browser on their machine, the scripts aren't coming from that web server that you
always, yeah.
protected. They're often coming from
Right.
Google as a third party,
Yep.
and then behind Google or Yahoo, there's a fourth party
that's tagging on the back, and they're not touching any of your infrastructure. And by the way, when those scripts load into your browser, it's fair game. You can completely deface the page. You can change the look of a form. You can change the information in a form. And guess what? They never see it. So your web server, all of your security that you've put in place, if you're a retailer or a bank, all of that PII could be stolen without you ever knowing. It's completely
absolutely. It just runs in the
It blows
background.
my mind. I mean, I was like, okay, wow.
Yeah.
So that's what we do. We fill this gap. We fill this void, and we've been in business for about 4 or 5 years. We've grown. We've got some really great retail clients. We protect about $21 billion of online sales right now. It's pretty awesome. Yeah. So
That's amazing.
It's and look, you guys are a fantastic partner of ours. You've actually brought us some great business, so we really appreciate that.
Yeah.
But the PCI payment card industry is reforming the way you handle the browser. It's no longer kind of nice to have. It's now being in the 4.0, the new PCI 4.0 standards. You have to have justify. You have to inventory all of these scripts. You have to justify why they're there, and then you have to have controls in place to prevent data leakage from the user's browser. So pretty
absolutely.
cool.
I mean, as a PCI forensic investigator, that's in Europe, the cards are never leave your presence, right? So credit card fraud there is almost null, except for e-commerce, right? Like the PCI Council is always dealing with fraud, but based on e-commerce platforms.
Yep.
Here in the U.S., we have a kind of a different setup. But I would say the majority, if not 9 out of 10, of the investigations I do are all e-commerce based, and it's all similar attacks, if not always mage cart or someone who's injecting or bypassing, putting their own malicious code in there, and then the page loads and then stuff gets offloaded in the background.
It's so complex. I mean, by the way, like one of the things, and this isn't a scare tactic, it's just reality. We recently had some clients join us that unfortunately fell foul to mage cart, skimming type attacks, and from their perspective, they thought they were protected because they went with a payment card processor that embeds what's called the iframe, embeds the payment. So that vendor is a PCI certified vendor. The reality is that they've been caught by other things like the California Privacy Act and stuff, where they've actually still got fined, even though they thought that they were doing everything they should have done. They still got, because there's privacy data being leaked as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna get a little technical, but even with an iframe, the attacker could overlay what's called an iLayer in CSS3, and what that can do is basically any input that goes
into the
iframe still has to go through that layer, and they're just going to capture that input.
Yeah.
And so
the story was called the founder actually was working for a large international bank, building web applications, building these scripts, right? Because lots of these banks have hundreds of developers, so they try and mitigate third party by building their own code, which is tough to do for most companies. And he realized he built this really cool application, but he also saw that the byproduct that he could see anything on the user was doing. So he went away and came up with the concept of source defense a few years back. And in its simplest terms, we're like a sandbox in the browser. So we load, the first thing that loads into the browser session is source defense, and then it takes all of these scripts and loads them into, in essence, sandbox. We call them virtual pages. Totally transparent to the user, often increases performance because now you're moving this into like a parallel process versus the serial process that's traditionally in a web page. And we just basically say you can operate, but you can see stuff, but you can't share it out, right? So if you need to listen for button clicks, or if you need to see a particular
it's like a virtual firewall basically for the web page.
Someone said it's not quite true, but someone said like with the WAF browser, it's not really the right analogy, but I mean it's the gap.
And so there's that protection aspect of it, but then at Tevora we've actually used your product for investigating as a tool to kind of identify where was that malicious code injected, right? And that actually worked out really well for us. Sped our time up dramatically for trying to pinpoint where that code was that was malicious, and it turned out to be it looked like a legitimate Google tag, but it was actually it was using the Google tag code that Google supplies, and then it was grabbing all the input information and shipping it off.
Yeah, and not everything's malicious, right? Not everyone's right out to get us, but I can tell you that the behaviors of these scripts can change without you knowing. You can have leakage of data without it being an attack, right? And that's what we do is provide that assurance, right? That
That's
control.
awesome.
It's been fun. 2 months in. Great client base, great partners.
You'll definitely be in business for a long time because browser attacks happen.
It's been the best.
Yeah, MageCart's been around for how many years now?
5,
6,
5, yeah.
right? But they
and
just
those
keep
guys,
they just keep evolving their attacks, getting more sophisticated. I mean, the first time I saw them, we were doing this was in all the news, so I can talk about the client. Yeah. But it was Live Nation Ticketmaster.
Yeah, that was a big one back in the day.
Their third-party chat vendor. So it was an AI chatbot that you need help on the website. Like, you're having trouble finding your order or whatever, right? This thing would automatically go through and it would load on every page. Right. And the company was called Inventa. Well, Inventa got compromised, and the source code, the JavaScript over there, got compromised. And so Live Nation Ticketmaster did everything they could on their end to make sure that their systems were patched and their code was secure and everything.
But it wasn't even on
But
there.
because they were loading in a third-party JavaScript, it wasn't on there.
Yeah.
Right. And so it took us. That was the first time I ever saw it, and I thought it was a brilliant attack. I mean, it's so sophisticated.
Yeah.
And
you have total control, right? I mean,
Right.
you can talk about dwell. I mean, dwell time's a horrible word because it scares lots of people. It scares me, but like this can go unnoticed for huge periods of time.
Oh, yeah.
They can turn it on and off. It's because it's now the downside for the attacker is you have to go in and grab every single user. It's not like a smash and grab. But it's the funniest thing for me over the last 2 months, over 15 plus years of selling in cybersecurity, has been there's pauses in these meetings. So I sit in the background, listen to all of these conversations. Right now, everyone's educating themselves on 4.0, right? So we're getting loads and loads of calls from really folks that are trying to get ahead of the game, right?
And I think it's great that PCI is going this direction now.
Oh, yeah.
Finally.
They're like fully implemented.
This pregnant. There you go. There's some guys flying around.
That was a fast one. Yeah.
But this kind of pause where you have a conversation, and the best one for me was a utility company the other day, and it was like 2 minutes. They were just quiet, and I was like, "Hey, let me ask you a question. What do you think?" And this guy's like, "Oh my God, this is a gap."
Yeah.
We just hardened. We just spent a whole host of money with a WAF vendor. We've done a really nice job. And we've kind of shifted potentially the risk, right? And so what he called us was a guardrail. It's like, you guys could be a guardrail for us, like an assurance that even if something does change, the way that Source Defense operates means that it's not going to share that data anyway. Even if a script does turn bad or something happens, Source Defense won't naturally share that information to anyone other than the first party that needs it.
That's awesome.
But yeah, unless you host your own code, I mean, you're susceptible to this attack, right?
Yeah.
Right. You could have the most secure code.
100% of your own
No,
code.
because
It's not
jQuery and all
Yeah.
these different libraries,
always.
they're being loaded off, by one central source like Google or whatever, and that's to speed up the internet. Because everyone's already cached that jQuery in their browser from another website, and then when they come to your website, they don't need to load it again because it's already visited, right? And so that problem's never going to go away unless you're going to host your own jQuery on your site or these libraries, right? You're going to run into this problem. And then you have the Ticketmaster Live Nation Inventa thing, where Inventa, nobody even knows that name. They didn't get any of the heat. They didn't get any of the fines, right? Ticketmaster got all the fines.
And they're big. Some of these.
They were the ones that got hit in the media and stuff from that. So
it's the brand.
And it wasn't even their fault.
It's the brand recognition. Like I said, you can probably see on my face. It's a pretty cool, special company.
It's awesome.
You
Great
seem
culture.
excited about it talking about it.
Yeah, listen, it's kind of when you can go in
and you're
talk
only
to
2 months in.
Well, it's when I was selling network detection and response. By the way, that market was so saturated. It was like an ocean. Like, you go in and like, hey,
and then
how do
other
you
companies are
differentiate?
eating up other companies, and
now you're truly solution selling, like with you guys, and talking about like how do you address this gap? How do you fill the gap? How do you give this one of the other clients said to me, duty of care. Like, we have a duty of care to our consumer, and we want more than just inventorying and justification of why a script is in there. We want controls to say that nothing should ever bad should happen to you.
Yeah. Now, I don't know of any competitors, and don't name them, but are there competitors in this? You guys are like the only ones that do this, aren't
I think
you?
we're the first ones out there. We're well known. Obviously, the raise and the promotion. We got some great investors. JVP, Jerusalem Venture Partners, Night Dragon, Dave DeWalt, and Ken Gonzalez.
That's awesome.
Allegis Cyber as well. So
And
we are
when
probably
did you
the
guys
only-
start?
About 5 years ago, but product ship's been about 3 years. So
Wow.
yeah, and we've grown that. As I said, we're up to about $21 billion worth of online sales being protected through Source Defense. Which
And
is
hopefully
great.
it keeps going up and up and up.
yeah,
We
have
got a
that.
call this morning for e-commerce platform.
Yeah.
$800,000 in fraud. And
Yeah.
we're trying to help them over the phone, but
And it's the same thing. And they say, hey, we're IPs are coming from the U.S. We don't know what to do. We can't just lock off our own country.
yeah.
Yeah, right. That's exactly right. What you got balancing productivity with the risk. It's the insight. I think that's what people like about the platform. Like we have all of these different signals. You can look at. It's not just about preventing things from going bad. We have all this historical data that folks can
which
use.
is what I use from the investigation side.
Right, exactly.
And I love the dashboard, by the way.
And do you know what it takes? Two lines of code. That's it. In fact, if you work with a CDN, you don't even have to do it. You can have the CDN just insert the tag for you.
Oh,
but
that's cool.
if not,
That's
it's
perfect.
literally 2 lines of code inserted into the web page, and that's it. You're up and
That's awesome.
Yeah.
There you have it. There you have it. Source Defense is going to bring us, protect our e-commerce future.
That's it.
Last question for you.
Yes.
Chrome or Firefox?
Well, I'm Chrome. I'm a Chrome guy.
All right.
Is that a bad
Cool.
answer?
To tack on to that, one more question.
Go.
Teams or Zoom?
Teams or Zoom?
I don't want either, but
If you had to.
I was working for a large company before there's 15,000. We had Teams, and I finally got used to Teams, and then I resigned and came to Source Defense, who uses Zoom. So I'm now learning.
Good job,
a
Source
complete-
Defense.
Yeah, good job. all right. Final. This has been a hot topic at Tevora for a long time. Pineapple on pizza.
Oh yeah, this is a huge,
actually,
huge debate.
so
of
Huge.
as long as you know, my wife is a huge Hawaiian pizza fan, but I am too. But I always try and get away from it. But I do.
So
I
you're
like,
yes
I'm
to
a
pineapple.
fan.
All right.
Yeah.
So far today we have
Don't
one.
tell my wife I said that.
One for the yes on pineapple pizza. Just don't have her watch our show.
That's
She'll
it.
never
That's
know.
it. That's it.
That's awesome.
But hey, Jason, thanks for
Thank
stopping
you,
by.
guys.
Thanks for letting us talk
Thank
to you
you,
for a
guys.
couple minutes.
Yes, thanks,
Thank you.
Jason. Nice to meet you.
Thank you
Enjoy
very
your
much.
week here at Vegas.
Yeah, thanks.
Don't go on Wi-Fi.
Yeah, don't go on Wi-Fi. Get some rest tonight.
Get some rest.
Yeah,
For sure.
definitely.
Get some rest.
This is great.
But thanks for stopping by. We'll send you our clip. Make sure you watch us. And for everybody else, check out Source Defense. Like, subscribe. And we're going to be talking to a lot more people here. For now, we'll be in touch.